thousand to somebody if you already basically got the work done.
Well, I think that's another discussion about what work, because that's going to be them telling us what they feel needs to be done with instruction and transportation and whatnot. How it gets done is
Would be the
different.
committee.
Yeah. So we'll have another, in a second, we'll move to that, a moment, we'll move to
Well, I guess what I'm going to suggest is I hear a consensus of the board that, yes, Glenn, that's a reasonable charge. We know it may change. You know, I think Director Knoll's caveat is right on target, that we may find something where we're starting to do the overlays that may change something, but we start with that. Let us go do the work internally. Let us talk to Mr. Kaiser and the capacity model. Let us get this year's enrollment, because that's critical. We got to plug in all those numbers, and then come back to the board with a more solid plan about, now here's what we suggest we do. Based on this information, we think we need to ramp up the bid committee, or we think we can do it in-house, or whatever, and we'll know a lot more at that point, I think.
Also, the capping committee, the one that Lyman, I guess.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, can we have what the demographics of some of those folks are? Can we
Sure.
see if that's heavily weighted up north? Can we
Maybe
see
we
if
can
there's folks from
include
down
some
south?
people.
So that it might address some of the concerns that Charlie and Al both have. And I do too, actually, because I think everyone should have an equal say about, you know, what happens with schools, because it's our district,
Right.
one end to the other.
And I'm not even familiar with that committee. I don't even know how many outsiders versus in-district, so.
Right, and so that would be maybe nice for us to know.
So addressing the second part of it, which are the three options you want
I
us to
think we
go
wait.
through. Right, so how much time would you need for that? Are we looking at
I think we can be
couple
back,
months?
no, less than a
Okay, I
month.
want you to tell me.
Less than a month. I think we can be back in
Okay.
mid-September.
Okay, so while you're doing your work, perhaps you can, well, I know you document everything you do, but perhaps you can have that being compiled for us to show us 40% of the work has already been done, 25%,
Right.
60% has already been done. So when it comes to that, we'll have a really good idea. So like, you guys, you know, you did all this background, but you really can't do the rest of it because you've only done 10%. We need someone else. Or you're going to tell us, we're you know, 2/3 of the way there, and then we'll say, yeah, can you finish it up with all the other work we've given you, or do you need someone, maybe not this full external person and the $50,000, but do you need just a little bit of oomph so you can continue to do the jobs you have and give us a feel of that?
Right.
So we can decide.
I just want to caution, the only downside to going that direction, and the reason we usually went the other direction, is
Explain the two directions you just, I
the
totally missed the point.
the direction where the administration goes back, drafts them based on what we think is logical, goes to the committee, and then starts working through the process, is we often hear from a vocal minority, see, you already had your mind made up before you came to talk to us.
My point is that if we have someone completely external, they're going to come back to you and gather data. And that's what I want to know, do you already have that?
Yes, we
You know,
do.
so you're going to come to us and say, we already have this. So it might be easy to plug someone in from the outside if you think we don't, because I'm all for using our people. You know, the people we have, I don't think it's a preconceived notion that you've already got the idea of where we're going, because we still have committees and we still have input. But use our people that we already have, but I don't want to overburden all of our top people to be in charge of these things when we want them to concentrate on student achievement. We've got tasks already throughout this year to do, you know, and we don't want to take away from that. That's my concern.
I appreciate that, and I think one of the things that, on my mind, that I've taken some notes on is that once we've identified what the potential scope could be, and once we've worked with the committee and the groups have come together with that recommendation on October 15th, then we'll have that identified scope. We know our capacity. We'll make a better recommendation to you as to what we need in order to support our work of educating students. And so we'll have a better feel for that. And so we'll bring that forward, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just go through a couple? What are we trying to accomplish? And let's remember one thing that we always seem to forget the last time, and it's more prominent now in District 11. You know, there's a whole thing called charter schools out there. You know, and not all of them belong to District 11. And there's quite a few high school charter schools now. And, you know, you can make some of these changes, and if the kid, you know, the parents then are going to take and move their kids to somewhere else, you know, I'm not sure what we're accomplishing. And you know, I really think we need to look at that, and I Again, the only thing that I was looking to do was to maybe quit busing the kids from the east side to the west side.
And I think, Charlie, that's what we're trying to accomplish. What you talked about just a little while ago about a parent who was very upset about where they moved right next to a school and found out that they were going to be bused clear across. One of our own district employees moved right next to a school and found themselves being bused clear across town. I think that's probably one of the things we want to accomplish, because that would be being physically prudent and saving money and doing the right things for kids. So I believe you answered your almost answered your question earlier with what you said.
But, again, so what are we trying to accomplish?
We're trying to accomplish getting some more direction as far as mishmash of our boundaries, because we have cobbled them together for so many years, and I think we're concerned about the capacity of certain schools. And we can't control where people are going to go to charter schools, except by having excellent schools ourselves. And we can't leave that out of it.
What academic benefit does any of this have? I guess that's what the question is. To me, that's the true question. The only thing you look at when you get up to the north end with the high schools, you know, when kids are gone to such and such middle school, and now they're split and they're going over to some are going to Coronado, some are going to Palmer, or Watson, I guess, the two that yeah. And, you know, I mean, what's the academic benefit, you know, attracting, retaining students? What's the academic, you know, benefit of the whole thing? And I'm just going to tell you that is why, in my opinion, we need to look at as a district to have choice busing, where a student can live anywhere and go to any school as long as it's, you know, has the capacity to accept them on in there. I think that gives the kids opportunities. That allows an IB student who may live in the Doherty area or in the Mitchell area to have transportation down to Palmer. Okay? You know, the same thing from somebody over in Coronado. I really think that's, you know, one of the things we need to be looking at is giving some of these folks more options about where they go. You know, right now, as I understand it, all the any school that hasn't met AYP, and Mr. Baer may be able to respond to this, is that, you know, the parents can take their children out of that school because they haven't met AYP and go to a different school. You know, so we're already out there doing some of this choice busing.
For title schools, that's true.
Okay? So, you know, and you know, I understand. I mean, you know, part of my issue, if you know, one of the things you said, well, should we go back and get somebody who's gone through this before? You know, I think that's what kind of happened last time, was when the people we brought through that was helping us in utilization stuff, I just think was tuned out and really doesn't care. They're getting paid for it, and then they were out of here. You know, otherwise you have somebody else who has preset ideas on what they think should happen. And that's part of the other process of going through there, is then that person's voice became so powerful, so impactful of what we did in utilization that, you know, all the folks got, you know, knocked on out. And just go back through the utilization. I mean, you know, several of us on the board here sat through all those meetings where person after person after person was telling us, you know, this is dumb, this is dumb, this is dumb, this is dumb. And you got 15% saying, yeah, it's a good idea. So who do we listen to? We listen to the, you know, the person who designed the whole plan. You know, I mean, it's a hard process to go through. And in my opinion, what we really need to do, if we want to change them and everything else, that's fine. But if you give the folks some choice busing to say, you know what, get your kid to this school, and we'll get them to, you know, to this high school, this middle school, you know, wherever else we can, if you feel more comfortable in that. It gives them the options. You know, it takes out the whole thing of, you know, I live in this section of town, so I want to get to choose this, and this school, and I don't think they meet my child's need, or my child needs to be in SAIL program. You know, I mean, one of the things I'd hate to see is going on over there, and because I think that's one of the things I heard. Well, you know, we've heard about that. Let's move SAIL out of West. Let's move it somewhere else. You know, let's take and make North an IB school. You know, I mean, You know, I just think if we're going to do some of that stuff, we need to be giving the people in throughout the school district at least a little bit of choice to say, well, you can go to this one or this one. We'll basically bust you on out there. Yes, it costs dollars, but, you know, I just think that's the fair way to treat all of the, you know, everyone within the district. And let's not forget, I don't know what the numbers are now of how many people reside in District 11 boundaries that don't go to District 11 schools. It's in the thousands.
Yeah, we permit just around the district over 7,000 kids a year, in the district.
And that, exactly what you're saying, it's in our purview to give that as a charge to committees when they work on this, to say specifically to consider this. We can do that. And certainly when you've said this, the people that are going to do this preliminary work will have that in their head, and they'll know that at least one board member is thinking about that.
I mean, we're sitting there, just take a look at the elementary boundaries. Buena Vista is not on there because it's boundaryless. You know, it's a school that's had phenomenal growth, you know, in student achievement over the last several years. And the question should be, somebody should be asking is, well, should District 11 have another one? Should District 11 have some program at one of the middle schools that continues on with the Montessori program? I mean, those are some of the questions I think we need to be asking, and I guess I get back to where, you know, Dr. Gladys is coming from. And if I need to have this done by October, you know, something that's pretty firm, and you know, I just, you know, so again, I'm going to go back to what I said. I just wonder whether we shouldn't maybe be starting to chip away at it, but maybe it's something that we're really, you know, hone in on next year and make sure. So that's just my thought.
Well, I think his points are valid. I'm not sure how that would work, the busing across boundaries. It was doable, how, you know, cost. When I look at it, I look at it real simple. I mean, the elementary, middle looks pretty good. You know, just fix the mess. You know, it's obvious that those with that are involved, power, political, money, whatever you want to call it, got their way, and that has to be changed. Period. It's real simple to me. Just keep it simple. That just got to be changed up top.
So do you need more from our discussion?
No, I'm good.
Dr. Gladys?
No, I'm good.
And I think we feel pretty confident that our other board members who aren't here will have found out about our discussion. The next time we talk about this, we'll all be here, hopefully, and we'll have even a richer discussion. And
But you're going to come back sometime around mid-September, give
Right.
us a first blush.
Mid to late September.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your patience. We knew this was going to be a little bit rocky tonight. We knew that, but part of it was by design that way. I mean, we weren't ready to dig into details.
Okay, great. Thank you. I thought that was a good discussion, and we will have more on that.
Yeah, you did an adequate job for my,
Adequate. Nice job. All right, so let's move on to our discussion. The second item on our work session is discussion of the community engagement meetings. And that's our discussion, but we were given a list of things that we should consider because staff needs to know what the board expects and what needs to be prepared for these meetings. So,
Page 49.
Dr. Gladys, do you want to start us off with something, some proposals, or?
Sure, I can.
Okay. We have, oh, no, we're in a work session. We can come and go as we like, so.
So we're okay. Okay,
And
great.
even you can.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And I may do that.
and we may make some decisions while you're gone.
That's okay. The last work session